Continuous testing is not an optional. So I said at the beginning of the talk, but it is really important to understand that we need a continuous testing at inference during the running of AI system. The focus is on behavior, not on just on the code. And I will show you the OWASP AI testing guide and the OWASP top 10 LLM that could help to create technologies to perform continuous testing. Now we see from the problem, we see the solution. So moving from software security to broader trustworthy AI approach. What does it mean? We see that developing an AI system is different from developing a traditional software. We have at least 3 new roles. So the data engineering, the model engineering, the AI software engineering. We have at least 3 new phases of development: data preparation, training and testing, application development. So you can see in bold the different processes. And so the secure SDLC is not enough, because the secure SDLC is focusing on the top, on the right, but not on the other. So we arrive to trustworthy SDLC. So you can see on the left the traditional SDLC phases, the 5 silos: definition, design, develop, deploy, and maintain of a software product that was focused on the quality of the software, still the 90s. Since 2000, 2006, we started to develop secure software using secure SDLC, and we add secure SDLC activities, for example, risk assessment, threat modeling, to understand what are the threats, the risk, and implement the secure requirements, not only the requirement of the software. And then we need trustworthy AI. So we need to define AI purpose, to understand the data, etc. So here is our approach. You can see that with FBK and the University of Trento, DEDA Group, University of San Raffaele, we are releasing in the next month a new research paper regarding the new paradigm on how to develop trustworthy AI software. So here is the big picture with a new model that can manage all the new risks and all the new threats for the companies, for the industry that are developing AI systems. So the question is, how can we build trustworthy AI systems? So at the top, you can see the traditional software security model with the source code, and we perform the static analysis, application runtime, and we perform dynamic testing. What we have to do today, we have to include the data. So we have to perform a review on the data quality. We have to include the model and perform the review on the choice on the model that maybe can introduce new vulnerabilities. Yes, we have again to perform secure code review, but here you can see that is a piece. And then we have to add the inference behavior. So the concept of continuous testing is during the inference, and it is a completely new approach. I'm talking about trustworthy AI, but what does trustworthy AI means? Trustworthy AI has 3 layers. One is for sure security and privacy, but the new aspects are related to the responsible AI. Responsible AI is everything related to ethics, bias, fairness, all the new threats that are related to the AI system. So in responsible AI, it's important to understand if I can I understand my AI system. In AI security, can I rely it? And in AI privacy, can I feel safe using it? Together means trustworthy AI. Now we move to the practical side. So we see the problems, but how can we solve this problem from a practical point of view? And here comes OWASP. OWASP stands for the Open Worldwide Application Security Project. That is an open source project that was born in 2001 with the first aim to protect web security. But today, the W is not web, it is worldwide, because we are moving to protect also generative AI. So there is a specific Gen AI project from OWASP, and there are two guides, the OWASP AI testing guide and the OWASP AI maturity assessment, that I will explain briefly. The OWASP AI testing guide is a methodology to understand how to test an AI system. So we started from an architecture that is the Secure AI framework from Google, because this is a general architecture of an AI system. And we have 4 layers. The first layer at the top is the application. So the user interaction with the application, and here comes, for example, prompt injection and other testing. Then we have the model. So we can understand what are the threats regarding the particular model that we are using. Then the infrastructure and the data. So you can see all the interaction between the assets. And from here, we create all the threats, the list of the threats that can insist on a generic AI system. From the list of the threats, so you can see there the threat name, prompt injection, indirect prompt injection. Here are the threat that we identified performing a threat modeling on a generic AI system. And from here, we create the test name. So testing for prompt injection, testing for indirect prompt injection, and we create the methodology how to perform this kind of test. So here is the big picture. We identified 32 tests to perform on a generic AI system. Here you can see OWASP is completely free and open source. So just browsing OWASP AI testing guide, and you can download the PDF or access to GitHub. You can help us to improve the project, so you can be a contributor. It's completely open, and today is becoming a standard de facto to perform an AI trustworthy testing. So, for example, here is a paragraph on how to test for indirect prompt injection. We define the problem, we define how to test, and then what you expect as an output to identify vulnerability, real example, what are the remediation and the suggested tools. For example, Garak is an open source tool from NVIDIA that can perform indirect prompt injection. But there are many, many other tools in the guide. So we take a look to the testing, but it is important also the maturity of the company that are creating new AI software. So the OWASP AI maturity assessment is another project that can help industry to understand what is the maturity and can understand how to create a trustworthy project inside your company. We have 8 assessment domains. We start from responsible AI, and we evaluate the ethics, the transparency, the fairness, then the governance, the strategy and metrics, the AI policy, the education and awareness, and then we have six business functions. We have 3 maturity levels. So level 0 means you have no maturity. Level 1, initial maturity. So you start implementing something, but it is not complete. And level 3, the master of maturity. You can perform an assessment using the toolkit that you can find on our website. So perform a kind of self-assessment in 1 hour and understand what is the level of maturity in each of the practices of the model. So you can use the OWASP AI maturity assessment to create and to manage the governance of the high risk, and you can improve your process inside your company. Also, you can evaluate the company that are developing AI software. So you can evaluate how mature is your development company regarding the system that you want to create, for example. And on the right, the OWASP AI testing guide. So here we put in place the methodology to perform an AI system trustworthiness. So the takeaway, building trustworthy AI requires redesigning of the organization. We need new skills, the chief AI officer, AI engineers, data scientists. We need new processes. We need to perform impact assessment, risk assessment, ethical alignment, all new kind of process that industry are not able to do or to perform today. We have new challenges. We have to manage ethics, understand what ethics mean for my company, and perform an alignment of the product to manage the hallucination, the drift, how the human in the loop is inside the project. I hope that during the talk, it is now clear that security is only one piece. AI is not quality plus security. AI introduces trustworthiness. And secure software is different from trustworthy AI. So we need a new paradigm to perform and to develop AI system that is called AI trustworthy SDLC. We need new technologies to verify the trustworthiness of AI systems. So the old technologies that are good for AppSec is not really good for AI system. OWASP can help a lot. So I just briefly introduced 2 projects, but if you go on the website, you can see a lot of projects that can help to have concrete activities for your team. So thank you.
Is there any question for Matteo? Let's also check online.
We need to.
Basically, like it was about AI product testing, but does it change as how the traditional software should be tested as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
The same applies.
Yeah, here the OWASP AI testing guide. Here, if you go on OWASP, you can see many many testing guides. For example, for web security, for mobile security. This is related to the AI system, and you can see that it's completely different from the others because prompt injection, etc., and the other are new aspects. So, absolutely.
Yeah, I have another question. Can you compare? Okay, the biggest issue is who is responsible. Okay, if you have a bad product, who is responsible, buyer or producer? This is a typical question for any software. And so, but my question is a little bit more specific. Can you compare American approach for this and European one? Because it seems that the development of AI systems will be very much related who is paying price for mistakes.
Yeah, so the European approach is more methodological, and we have the EU AI Act that can help a lot to understand the responsibilities of the company that is developing software. So if there is an hallucination, toxic output, it is a responsibility of the company that is developing it. In US, we know that is completely different. The scenario. The scenario is more go ahead and let's see what happens. No, it's completely different.
Yeah, but it's again, this is a little bit philosophical question that we have China who are doing whatever they like. We're even not saying what they are doing. And then this European approach, which seems very reasonable, well based on, but does not it mean that we will be losers? Because they will move so fast. It's very difficult with this, how to say, sensitive approach, European sensitive approach, is very difficult to move very fast because you have a lot of efforts and time for testing any product. And maybe all market will be already captured by Google or whatsoever.
I understand. That's right. I agree. It's true that we have a UAI Act and many other standards. But if you look, for example, the UAI Act is shifting every year the regulation. No? So, for example, now the omnibus will shift again in 2027 the regulation for high critical systems. So it's true that we have less possibility if we are working in Europe, if we are looking to China and in the US that can do everything, and then let's see. But from engineering point of view, I see a lot of value in what the UI Act is saying, because the AI Act telling us and the companies how to develop in the right manner a software, because you cannot create like vibe coding. No, US and China is like vibe coding. Everything you have in your mind, put and go. But in 2 years, 5 years, they have to cancel everything and redo everything they are done, because it is completely no sense from a point of view of security point of view, trustworthy point of view. So it is a different approach, and I agree. We cannot run as US and China, but we are developing more solid products. That's.
Yeah, if I may add, it's better to start slow and more constrained, but then keep going in future rather than in 5 years pay 200K because your data was lost or something like this. And I just had one question. In the past, I also used the top 10 guide, the mobile testing guide, to prove that specific solution were secure enough, because from the legal perspective, the legislator does not really go in details. It just say you have to implement the best practices, let's say, or the current security recommendation. Is the OWASP AI testing guides similarly valued from the legislative perspective to demonstrate that a solution?
Yeah, we released version 1 last November. So
we need to allow
we need time maybe, but I think
but also having a tool it's very helpful.
The idea is that one. So to have a standard that can cover. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thanks,
Thank
Matteo.
you. Thank you.
One last question.
If you don't mind, thank you so much for the very, very comprehensive, very insightful presentation. So I'm from the management perspective, not a cybersecurity. I just wonder if you can give us a user case example, for example, either is a healthcare or transportation or other, sector. If they want to build trustworthy AI into their system, what will how it's going to be implemented, how it's going to be adopted, what does the process look like, who should be, be in charge? I think the early on asked the question already. So can you give us an example how to embed this work into real cases?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah, what we are observing that creating an AI project require a lot of energy during the definition phase. So it requires only engagement of top management because, for example, ethics and bias, etc. You have to define, the company has to define, not the developer. So in the definition phase, you need to create a set of people, of management that can manage it and address at the beginning these kind of problems. So we noticed that, and we noticed that it is more difficult, absolutely, and a lot of companies at the moment has not all the roles. For example, the chief AI officer. For example, there are a lot of legals that need to understand the ethical impacts, and the first moving is training awareness. In fact, the EU AI Act is asking the first requirement is to perform training to companies, to your employees, and this is the key because it is a completely new way to perform a new product. So the challenge is to improve the skill in your company or add new element and understand that we cannot run with by coding, but we need to be focused on definition phase, design phase, and then starting developing. But all the company needs to be involved in this kind of process. Okay, thank you.
So thanks again, Matteo.
Thank you.
Now, now it's time for Tudor Damian. Can you share the screen? So we check here if it looks.
Yep. Let me let me know if you can see it. Okay.
How do we put it full screen? Technically, there was the pop-up sometimes. Maybe you can start in the meantime.
Okay. So hopefully you can also hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Nice to be invited today. I have a quick insight because we only have a few minutes on each of these topics. Talking to you a little bit about how cybersecurity skills and compliance are to be dealt with in this ever-changing EU landscape. I know we've had a few mentions already of the EU AI Act and things like that, so we'll briefly touch on that. My name is Tudor Damian. In my day-to-day activities, I do cybersecurity, AI, and cloud consulting at a company I helped co-found a few years ago. So we mostly manage governance, risk management, compliance, things of that nature, awareness training. So the stuff that was already mentioned, it's what we do daily. The thing about the whole compliance discussion and how to do compliance right is that EU regulations, especially when it comes to regulations in the cybersecurity space, have been multiplying faster than a lot of companies can kind of keep up with. And even traditionally, so even before this became a visible problem in the market, the most common instinct a lot of companies had was to just hire someone to manage the paperwork side of things, everything that you would need to kind of pass an audit and just call it done. Like, let's do whatever we need to do, but the bare minimum if possible, and then move on. Now, the thing is, especially when it comes to cybersecurity, that instinct is expensive or tends to be expensive, exhausting, and wrong. And on the wrong aspect is where I want to spend the next few minutes talking a little bit about. So today's agenda is kind of a short focus on today's reality, the EU regulations, some of the practicalities behind that, and then looking at how you can move beyond the checklist, beyond that paper tiger approach, and we'll get to that in a minute, and how to also look at aligning these things with the future, with things like AI threats that were mentioned, with quantum now coming up, and maybe looking at some of the frameworks that are already out there as solutions, as potential starting points to help you catch up. And last but not least, I'll be briefly mentioning some things about the skills. I know there's a whole session in a bit on that, so I won't go into too much detail there. Now, if we are to look at the current EU regulation map, some of the probably highlights that you might have heard being mentioned are listed here, but this is not an exhaustive list by any means. There's a lot of other things that have been popping up in recent years, and it's been a huge boost in especially cybersecurity related legislation ever since the days of, say, GDPR, which is close to 10 years ago that companies were looking at what GDPR means and how to implement it. So out of these, NIS2 is the only one that's a directive. The others are regulations, just like GDPR, which means if it's a regulation in the EU, you might know it applies automatically when it comes into effect. With directives, they need to be transposed into national law by the member states. And that's where you might have some gaps in adoption or gaps in the way the directive itself is implemented. Now, there were a lot of these gaps with the original NIS directive, which is why we have NIS2. But this is essentially a directive that applies to essential and important entities in 18 sectors. And that includes any other entity that's on the supply chain, in an attempt to ensure that they implement security best practices like risk management and disaster business continuity and disaster recovery, incident response, incident management, and things of that nature. Nothing new, really. It's always been the case that companies are aware of industry best practices. They just choose to not implement them. This directive just comes in and says, well, you should do some of these things. You should implement some of these best practices that have been around for years or even decades. Otherwise, you get fined. And there's a lot of elements here having to do with risk management, with how whenever you figure out you've been compromised, you've been part of a data breach, there's a notification system, and you need to notify the local authorities. There's things you need to do to ensure supply chain security. Management can be personally liable. So there's a lot of elements here. Now, there's very few countries in the EU that still don't have the law passed. So there's most of the countries that have already passed laws, but might be missing, I know, directions on how to actually implement things like norms and things like that. Then you have DORA, which applies to financial entities and any third-party ICT providers that serve them, and they are treated differently. So if you're, say, a bank or a financial institution, and you have a third party managing your IT infrastructure, they fall under the requirements of the DORA regulation. And there's different types of fines that are involved here for financial entities compared to the IT providers. Then there's the CRA, which applies to any manufacturer, seller, or importer of what are called products with digital elements. This is essentially any piece of software or any piece of hardware that's got software running on it, like a firmware piece. This is your smart TV or your smart vacuum cleaner, and even operating systems and firewalls and things like that. So this applies to anything of that sort, and it mandates a lot more rigorous approaches when it comes to the security of those products, to how they're patched, and It even allows the EU to pull the product off the market if it's found uncompliant. And then last but not least, you've got the AI Act, which is all about anyone who provides, deploys, imports AI systems in the EU. And as was mentioned, the current omnibus has kind of shifted the timeline around. We've got the high risk requirements now pushed to August of 2027. This is all about AI systems that are used for what it's called high risk areas where human oversight might be required, where transparency might be required. And there's a lot of things going on there. Now, the thing about implementing all of these things, and you might not even be sure, like, does this apply to me? Should I even care? How do I do all of these things and still kind of take care of my business? Because cybersecurity is not my business. So why should I even care about these things except for trying to avoid the fines? And some practical examples here with NIS2, the first question you need to ask yourself is the scope. Am I under potentially a direct obligation to do something about it? Or could I potentially be on the supply chain? Is a customer of mine kind of mandated to apply NIS2? Do they fall under NIS2 and we're providing a critical or essential service to them? This kind of changes where you start, because if you're in the supply chain, there's some things you might need to do, but not everything. With DORA in the financial sector, now everybody thinks, well, I'm not a financial entity, so I don't care. But if you're a tech supplier on the supply chain, you do fall under DORA, whether you know it, whether you like it, whether you want it or not. With CRA, this is where it's important to understand that if you make or sell any products with digital elements, the clock here is already running. Now, this hasn't come into like full force. It doesn't still fully apply, but this will happen rather soon. And if you're unprepared to kind of build more secure software, to have something that the US market has had for many, many years, like a software bill of materials, for instance, and you build your products in such a way that you can easily sustain at least 5 years of security updates for free for your products, that means you're not ready. And doing these things after the CRA comes into full force might be already too late. With the AI Act, while most SMEs aren't building high-risk AI, they are deploying third-party tools and third-party AI in very sensitive contexts, and this still creates some obligations. Now, the practical advice when it comes to even just these four things is don't try to see them as four separate silos. Try to look at the whole thing in a holistic manner, in a holistic approach, and try to figure out whether there's something that you can do once that applies to 2, 3, or maybe all four of these, if all four of these apply to you. And there's a couple of examples here, something like the NIST cybersecurity framework or the SCF, which I'm going to be mentioning in a bit. Now, beyond kind of going through the checklist of what's actually required of you, this is the main issue. And the paper tiger approach is something that we've been seeing in the industry for years, and it's not likely to go away anytime soon. This is a security strategy that kind of looks fierce on the slide deck. Like, we do have all of these processes and documentation, and we fit every requirement, but nothing is actually being done. There's nothing being done besides the bureaucracy of it. And those businesses are not really ready to face a real life threat, a real life cyber attack. And the auditors, yes, they do grade the documents, the logs that you present, the policies and procedures. Your attackers will go for your data. Your attackers won't care about whether you've passed the last audit or not. And that gap between what the rules say people should be doing in your company and how your business actually operates is precisely where breaches happen. And it's important to understand that compliance, like being compliant, meeting that compliance level, that's a floor, not a ceiling. If you pass your audit, it means you met the minimum. It doesn't mean you've done everything you could have done. And this basically says nothing about whether you'd survive a real life incident. If you take AI and quantum into your view in this context, it's even harder now to be actually prepared, because for one, AI is lowering the cost and the skill for attackers. It makes it so much easier to launch AI-powered attacks, things like automation and deepfakes, and the fast time to have an exploit attacking thousands of targets at scale worldwide. Phishing that used to require native language fluency now takes a prompt, and you have your phishing emails in perfect local language, perfect grammar, and everything. And at the same time, AI is also automating compliance grunt work, which creates a skills problem, which we'll go into in a bit. And then there's quantum, and there's really not enough time to get into the hours we could probably spend just talking about both AI and quantum. But quantum computing already puts your data at risk. Things like harvest now, decrypt later attacks means the bad guys are able to kind of capture the current encrypted traffic and data and wait until quantum computing becomes more readily available to decrypt that in minutes or seconds instead of thousands of years. And if the data you have today, if it might be an issue for that data to be decrypted, say 2 years from now, then you're already in peril. And if you haven't started working on this, you should. Now, there's some frameworks that I've intentionally included here, and I wanted to mention that you could look at to kind of figure out where you stand. One that we're very fond of internally is the secure controls framework. This is essentially a meta framework that's mapping over 100 laws and regulations and standards in a single control set. So you assess things once and you cover a lot of these things at the same time. You do a gap analysis once, you implement something once, and you cover a lot more things than just going on a siloed approach. For NIST2, Cyfun is a great framework to look at. It's built on the NIST cybersecurity framework, on ISO and the CIS information. And this directly maps to NIST2 obligations. Then there's CSF 2.0 from NIST, which is already, like I said, part of Cyfun. Things like ISO 27001 or even ISO 42001. There was a question right before I started about how do we ensure that we start using AI properly inside an organization? This is an AI management system standard that's out there, it's public, and it helps you better understand and govern the AI side of things. And last but not least, there's the skills that, yes, at the end of the day, someone has to actually do the work. And while you can outsource your thinking, you can't really outsource your understanding. And just take a look at an effect that's called cognitive surrender. There's been recent studies published on this, where people just stop using their brain and leave it to the AI and then just take the output as granted. Now, the skills that are needed in 2026 are no longer the skills that passed an audit 5 or 6 years ago. You need people who think like attackers, not auditors, and people who can read and understand the regulatory obligations and how that applies to your organization. And this is where the AI automation becomes a trap, because juniors are going away. Anything that's entry level is outsourced to AI. So there's no way for people to go through that training, through that learning process for the next generation. So unless you already know this, AI won't help you learn it. And the result is a compliance machine that has a skill vacuum, which I'm sure will be talked about. Try to look at existing skills frameworks. So in summary, if you are to attempt to kill that paper tiger that I mentioned, try to apply regulations as a practical baseline in a stacked approach, not siloed. Try to stay ahead of threats and figure out what you still need to learn about and figure out how this applies to you. Look at AI, look at quantum, look at whatever's next. Try to use frameworks that help you bridge the daily operations and not just doing something for an auditor to look at a checklist, and focus on building a team with the right skills to hold this off together under pressure. And I will be sharing my slides with the organizers. I've included links to everything that I've mentioned. Like for skills, you've got the ENISA European Cybersecurity Skills Reference and the SFIA framework, which has added AI-related skills recently. There's the frameworks that I've mentioned. The Gen AI security project was already mentioned. And if you want to take a look at the post-quantum stuff, there's a couple of links there as well. And with that, thank you. And I don't know if there's still time for any questions. I will be in chat and will be around if there's any questions that I can answer in chat. But thank you.
Then maybe just a consideration from me, the thing that you said about developing the correct skill set, it's really important, and we noticed it in Merit project, where each year still there were macro trends, but there were 50 to 20% of new skill that we told the university to develop. And it's really a race, because by the time that you develop those skills and organize courses, you have to develop new skill set. So you're back at the beginning.
Yeah, agree.
So if there is no question, but of course you can write also in chat, we go to the next one. That is Marian, which will talk us about safe AI in business guardrails. Marian? Yeah, I believe you're muted. Do you want to? I should also have your slides here. Let me think.
Hello, do you hear me now?
Yep. You want to share or do I share?
I will share if possible. One moment.
Sure.
Nice to be here. Hello, everyone. So everybody can hear me, right?
We hear you a bit. How would you describe it? Maybe muffled. Try to speak again.
Can you hear me? You hear me? I may have a microphone problem, but I'll try to speak loud and clear.
Try to speak near the mic. Just.
Okay, so is this better? Not really.
Yeah, I believe we can still go. Thanks.
Okay, so hello all, nice to be here. I'm going to be talking about safe AI and business drivers. This is the topic. Now I'd like to say that as the speakers before, AI changes a lot in cybersecurity, but also in security generally. My presentation can be thought of as going right to the end of the solution, so to speak. So what I'm saying basically with this hybrid architecture, which I'm trying to develop in a series of guides, of technical guides, is that what we really need in the new AI world are deterministic rules and deterministic filters on AI output. So that's the whole idea of calling it hybrid architecture. So it's not only data which is both on-prem or in cloud, and it is not having only generally classical, sorry. Were you saying something? So can I go on? Okay. So it's not. So hybrid architecture means rules, deterministic rules over AI in this approach. Now let's take a simple process, a simple business process in the age of AI. For example, you want to use an AI algorithm in your business in order to get the recommendations. This is classical. Now, for example, of course, AI can analyze historical data to identify patterns to recommend some products. But just before you show your final result, you should run deterministic rules. For example, remove out of stock and low margin products. And this is necessary in a domain which is usually not thought as that security heavy, which is business sales, because otherwise your business will suffer. Why will it suffer? Because you will engage in selling something you don't have or going below margin. So there is this step of rules. There's the same filter. So basically, if you rely only on AI in doing things like this, you may get, of course, the classical hallucinations, but also you may get brand problems and contract problems. So if you want contract compliance in any area and protect the image of the company, including, of course, the security originated image, you need deterministic rules. Now, as I was saying, what is hybrid architecture? It basically means having rules over AI output, deterministic rules. It also means keeping all software, I mean, the one developed in these 25 years, as Matteo was saying, having it continuous, so continue using it, and building the new AI tools around it. That's what's hybrid about it. And as you see, this is from Google Cloud State of AI Report 2025. 75% of IT managers would say that hybrid cloud offers flexibility and control. So that's about the matter of where do you keep your data. So it's better to keep your data on-prem and use some AI functions from the cloud. But the company's source of truth, so where your data tells the truth about your business or organization or procedures, should be in classical software. So in your old DRP, internal system, document management system, and so on. That's what hybrid architecture is about. Now, of course, when using AI, I think that some of the principles are important just to be repeated, namely that foundation models such as ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on, they can be tuned for your specific use case, and you should do it in order to improve data relevance. Also that cloud providers, but also open source model providers, they provide safety filters. So if you use AI in the cloud, you can decide to have some safety filters, at least for sensitive info like credit card information, like company data against data loss prevention and so on, run over the models. That's a possibility. For example, if you know, 3 weeks ago in Vegas, Google launched the so-called Model Armor, which includes both LLM rules and deterministic rules, both to filter the input to the LLM and to filter the output of the LLM. So this concept of a model armor will be needed in a lot of applications. So it's not about using AI, but also filtering what goes in AI and what goes out AI. And also as a principle, what I'm citing here is that AI needs to be explainable. I think that's also something that is sometimes forgotten, even in enterprise AI deployment. Namely that you should show your human co-workers and your IT people what happened as much as it can be done. So that's for a successful human AI interaction, where hopefully AI will be the tool and the humans will be freed to do more productive work. Now, as for security for company data, I hope everybody can see this because this is really the philosophy translated into IT. The way I see hybrid architecture as a conceptual creation becomes concrete in this kind of IT deployment. So what I am recommending for security is to think of your data, of your current data and your current systems as your internal data zone, where you have something like ERP, you also have a file server, you may have your document management system, and also all your classic processes. Now, you should build the second security parameter, the one in green, which is the kind of a middleware, which can be run on-prem, also in cloud, but you can run it on-prem, where you take some part of your basic data, the secure unidirectional sync, you build a fast database, and you place here the API gateway for your AI-enabled applications. From this middleware, you can send some data to the AI in order to work, but you can filter and sanitize it. So the third parameter, the AI zone, can be in cloud. It is usually in cloud, for example, if you use Google Cloud like we do. But the point is that the middleware can be on-prem, and it also, the role of the middleware is to control what data you send to AI and the results which are received by AI. So your applications, your final applications for using AI should not connect directly to the AI zone. They should receive from inside the middleware zone from this so-called API gateway, which enforces also the rules of your company on the data or of your organization. Now, let me tell you something more about filtering and sanitization. It's not only a concept, but it can prevent company data loss. So it's good for data loss prevention. It's also good for personal identifiable information, so GDPR compliance. And it's also good for commercial secret or trade secret protection. Because, for example, in order to run AI functions, in many cases, you don't need the original data. For example, to go back to the business practice, the general business practice, you don't need to send the prices. Even if you want to get a price optimization model out of it, or dynamic pricing like Uber does and everyone, you can send modified prices or bring them down, I don't know, by log to bring them down to a different number range. So security can be protected, at least partially, by this kind of architectural design. So I think that principles are very important. We need to accept that we need deterministic rules over AI. So let's put it like this. We need deterministic rules over AI in order to guarantee something. And we also need very good data separation. So these three parameters can provide better security than at least now common AI direct access to organization data. Of course, if I talked about personal identifiable information, I will also say that, of course, you need to check that your good cloud provider implements both privacy in transit. So the data is encrypted, at least until quantum day, as the speaker before me told me. So on quantum day, those that collected encrypted data may break it, but there will be some penalty in them. Also, you should use privacy at rest. So, for example, this is an example in Google Cloud. You have the customer managed encryption keys, which can crypt the entire cloud storage for you. So if you lose the keys, you won't have access anymore. But it also guarantees that nobody else has access. So that's why I find important. I will also add at the end, and I'm looking forward to your questions about explainable AI. Now, usually explainable AI is, since it's very difficult, it's usually done by A/B testing. So we're using what works, and if it works for our purposes, we decide that it's good enough, and we don't need to know how it really works or how it got to those conclusions. There are tools, however, which are for advanced engineers. Of course, you can, for example, if you use deep learning before LLM, you can analyze the charts of vectors and embeddings. You can do feature importance analysis and experiment on it. And a lot of research is in that area, even for LLMs, as you know. But what I find important in human-facing applications is that you can have a hybrid approach to explainable AI. So my point is that if your software runs on classic data, as most software applications do, but also they have some AI functions, you can combine the two. So, for example, we go back to the example with the sales processes and the recommendations engine. If you use deterministic rules for deciding stock and price, but you use AI for deciding the customer, the recommendations, sorry, to the customer, you can combine them in saying in stock and please this customer. This is a very simple example, but it shows what I'm saying about explainable AI. Explainable AI, a lot of times, is limited by the fact that we don't know to explain how and what AI has shown us. But we forget sometimes that we can show the human what we put in the AI. So since your process is hybrid by nature, so you put in some classical data, and of course, I recommend that you put in also some classical deterministic rules. You can provide a short description of that in your application, so AI is better understood by the user of the software. Okay, so I think I have some more diagrams, but I like to focus on this and maybe have the time for some questions.
So thanks, Marian. Is there any question from the crowd? Yep.
Hello. I would like to ask about explainable AI and, for example, in this case, middleware zone. So in your example, like the explainable AI was kind of a general. For me, it wouldn't say like, yeah, it's in stock and it matches your needs. What are my needs? So automatically, usually we are balancing how accurate, how detailed the explainable AI should be, how to evaluate it. But automatically, if we will be trying to be too detailed, we might really reveal some private data. For example, you are interested in cars and something like this, so this is why you should be getting this one. So how you assume the integration should be? like to make sure, like, is it still rule-based to make sure we are not revealing too much and still keeping with the explainability?
That's a great question, and thank you for it. So normally in most recommendations engines, so I'm talking now recommendations, not LLMs, but it can be done also for some LLM use cases. So in most recommendations engine, you do have feature importance. So there can be analyzed which says exactly what feature, so what you are saying, what preference of yours led to the recommendation. For example, brand, click sequence, it is usually not done in real time because it is very expensive computationally. So people don't want to run this engine at the same time because it's quite a heavy load. But there is a technical possibility. I think that if it could be of more important, so explain why it got to this. Also, the tech could improve. Now, about the matter of these preferences being personal, I think that's an interesting point. But in order to have the system working, it needs to assume something about you. Maybe you won't like what it assumes, but it surely does assume something about you, and it intuitively it classifies it as a feature. So basically, it can be seen as a variable. They say about you, you're the one that always, in the sales case, that always buys in a rush in the mornings, you know? I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thanks again, Marian. It is now time for Vladimir Kirizescu, which will talk us about the next generation cyber defenses. You hear?
Hi, guys. Yes. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yep. Try to share the screen.
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. So just give me one moment. Yes. So first of all, thank you very, very much for inviting me. Good afternoon. I'm really sorry that I was not able to be in Italy right now. My name is Vladimir Kirizescu. I'm Romanian. I'm working from Bucharest. I'm also doing a lot of field work. I'm working at Vim for 10 years. This year in June, next month, I will be 10 years working in Vim. I'm a lead system engineer within the pre-sales department, and today we are going to talk about protecting data in an AI world. I also heard the previous speakers, really glad that I took some insights, but I want you to understand that the most critical, the most important thing in an organization, the revenue, the bloodline of an organization will be the data. So eventually, the data needs to be protected. So the next generation of cyber defense is driven by artificial intelligence, as we can see it on both sides, also on the defense side and also on the attacks vectors. So as AI accelerates threat creation, organization must evolve from, I would say, from a reactive security posture towards a predictive, automated, and resilient focused defense that will eventually protect the data, not only the systems or the network. This shift moves from analytics, early anomaly detection, into rapid recovery to stay ahead of the faster and more adaptive attacks in this AI-driven landscape. Cyber defense is no longer just about prevention right now. It's about ensuring that the data remains trusted, recoverable, and of course, resilient under any circumstance. So let's go into our agenda today. I know that we are a bit ahead of our schedule. I will try to remain concentrated. I don't have time to go through all the products and all the features, but I will give an overview into Veeam data platform, data resilience, AI adoption, and also I would have a couple of words regarding the whole cybersecurity ecosystem, integrations, and so on. So we'll keep an eye around data resilience and data protection strategies, foundation of modern cyber defense. Then we will go into how AI is reshaping both attacks and defense, and what this means for the protection of critical systems, critical data. Next, we'll have a look into how organization can prepare for rapidly evolving cyber threats, including, of course, ransomware and AI-enabled attacks, as my previous speakers already spoke about. Finally, we'll focus on how to strengthen our overall cybersecurity readiness, connecting technologies, processes, and people for a long-term data resilience process. So let's go into the subjects. As I said, I'm working in Veeam for 10 years now, and I realized that almost every customer is affected one way or in some fashion by ransomware and cybercrime, cyber extortion, and so on. So cybersecurity now is top in mind across all industries, from executives, chief information officers, security, IT teams, to every employee. So we need a full solution that will cover those needs and should be paired with a lot of security features and, of course, a lot of comprehensive cybersecurity offerings. So at Veeam, we provide the most complete end-to-end ransomware protection and recovery offering in the market. I'm sure you're familiar, but Veeam is the leading data resilience company in the world, used by more than 80% of Fortune 500. Most probably you are familiar with our products, but I will just give you a glimpse into the features. I will talk about backups, snapshots, recoveries, portability, the option to recover anywhere, clean room recoveries, of course, immutable backups, encrypted backups, and so on. But we in Veeam, we go beyond enterprise grade level backup and recovery options. We continue to add on, I would say, on a monthly basis, more AI features, more security features, and a very comprehensive malware detection in our products. To round this up, we also have the best incident response experts, so 24/7 team. The department, it's called COVWare, COVWare department by Veeam, available every step in the organization's way for clean recovery. Yeah, so we deliver best-in-class recovery options. So, as I said, end-to-end resilience throughout the whole data lifecycle. This slide will illustrate how end-to-end resilience is built across the entire data lifecycle, from before an incident or before restore towards during backups and during recovery. So before an incident, Veeam focuses on visibility, analytics, proactive threat identification, observability, compliance, analytics, recon-driven intelligence, AI. During the backup, security is enforced in line with malware detection, behavior analytics, immutability, continuous availability to prevent any kind of data compromise. Those features and those tools are already part of Veeam data platform, are already part of our solutions. We have our own dedicated antivirus, threat hunter it's called, I would say this is the fastest in the market. It's based on signatures and it's based on data resiliency, backups, replications, and so on. More than that, we also introduced YARA rules-based scanning, if you're familiar with YARA. So this is very, very fast search engine for malwares. You can put dedicated rules depending on what kind of malware is used for you to being attacked, and you can scan your whole infrastructure based on these YARA rules. Also, Vim brings orchestrated clean recoveries coordinated through Vim Threat Center. If I have time, I will show you a glimpse of it in our product. So actually, this will be a data lifecycle wide protection. Yeah, so we need to understand that the most important thing in an organization will be the data. The data actually needs to be protected. Organization must keep going. So going further, let's talk about Vim Data Platform. It's a secured, software-defined foundation for a complete business intelligence. I'm saying software-defined. Yeah, we don't really like vendor-locked appliances, vendor-locked software, vendor-locked systems. So this is a software-defined solution. It is actually a secure by design software appliance that will go on any kind of infrastructure. And it eliminates operational burden with automated updates. It's a flexible solution, flexible protection solution, which can deliver instant recovery, AI-powered threat detection, immutable, and also, I would say, portable backups that will let you recover anywhere, while, of course, controlling costs, controlling risks, and, of course, choosing the organization mindset or choices, to say better. So as an overview, Vim Data Platform is the data resiliency solution that provides global organizations the security, the flexibility, and also the control that they need. Let's go further on. We talked about AI Power Insights. I will give you more glimpse into that. But right now, let's check a real world example between one organization that was attacked. Actually, this was in Greece. It was attacked by Akira. They were our customers. And in the same day, another organization was attacked by the same ransomware gang by Akira. And let's see this contrast between two real-world attack paths, yeah, by Akira ransomware to just to highlight the Vim difference actually. Yeah. So for the initial access, without Vim, the attacker is able to move laterally, yeah, to have lateral movement, is able to encrypt and also still exfiltrate the data. And of course, it's also forcing a slow reactive response with limited restore options and significant, I would say, a significant business impact. With Vim in place, suspicious activity is detected early across backup infrastructure layers. Critical alerts are raised by our systems and also security teams. And of course, the ransomware impact is contained before widespread damage occurs. So the result is a faster detection, guided incident response, and orchestrated clean recovery. Minimal disruption, of course, which we got in touch with our customer, and they told us that they were able to recover all the data, clean data, and also respond to this incident with appropriate law. We have a broad cyber resilient ecosystem. This surrounds and I would say extends the Vim data platform that has its own strong points. So rather than operating in isolation, like I see with many vendors, they have their own products. They want you to use their own products. It's kind of isolated. So Vim integrates with industry-leading technologies. This, I would say, open ecosystem will give more benefits to organizations, will allow organizations to align data protection strategies with security, with operation team adoptions, tools that most probably they already trust. So it doesn't matter if you're using any other software, most probably you will be able to integrate this with Veeam because this vendor is appropriate. Maybe you're paying for this, maybe you're using this for a long time, you're used to it. So of course we take this into account. So the result will be a unified defense in-depth approach where detection, protection, response, and recovery work together to deliver true cyber resilience. Also, an open ecosystem will give this flexibility, will let organizations integrate Veeam with their existing tools, as I said, with cloud platforms that they're using, rather than focusing on individual slow action. So in a fast-moving threat landscape, openness will enable organizations to have better decisions, clean recoveries, cyber resilience into a coordinated end-to-end capability instead of a standalone product. So let's see some features from Veeam, and also let's see some integration with other solutions. First of all, keep in mind that Veeam truly keeps your business running. First of all, our built-in AI-powered malware detection engine. I want to mention that AI, yes, AI is a buzzword right now. Also, in all the presentations, AI everywhere. Most of the organizations, they try to implement, they implement it successful or not. So, but in our case, AI is not a buzzword. AI is fully implemented in our software, and not 2026. I'm talking about more than 1 year and a half. I will also speak about security AI. I don't have slides for this, but we acquired last year a company that was leading in the industry for DSPM, data security posture management. But let's focus on our slides. So built-in power detection, malware detection brings malware detection earlier in the life cycle. So closer to the attack with real-time detection. So this new feature allows your security team to shift to performing proactive threat hunting instead of reacting. So Veeam has backup anomalies detection being immediately reported to your security information and event management system. Tools like, I would mention ServiceNow. So you can integrate ServiceNow and send messages from Veeam to ServiceNow. This is how you can get a second opinion, a second opinion from a second vendor, from a second security organization before you recover from a disaster. So with this kind of integration, Veeam accurately marks recovery points that are clean or maybe infected or suspicious using this new incident API that we have. So some tools from our ecosystem. Veeam integrates with many solutions leading in cyber security. As you can see, Palo Alto, I would mention Torque also, Splunk, CrowdStrike, so forth. Yeah, so let's take a couple of examples. I have much more, but I will go into the most important. So Veeam integrates with Palo Alto Networks Cortex, if you're familiar with ETSIAM, Extended Security Intelligence and Automation Management, via a dedicated Veeam app that will feed the backup and data protection telemetry into this XIAM Security Operations Center platform. This will give the security team a centralized overview of the backup-related security events, enabling faster decisions, giving you a glimpse into ransomware activity, targeting backups, and automated incident response activity, including guided and automated recoveries to support this cyber resilience and trusted recovery. Regarding Splunk, I love Splunk quite a lot. Maybe you're familiar with Splunk. This is why we integrate with the best vendors in the industry. Splunk is an additional one. We have a dedicated app for Splunk, as you can see in this video, which will stream the backups in one platform security, actually forwarding the event to Splunk. This enables the SOC teams to monitor the backup health, security awareness. It will detect also threats that are targeting the backups or other parts of the infrastructure, like ransomwares or different malwares, and it will correlate those events into a broader security system, CM system, using Splunk dashboards, if you're familiar with them, alert, reporting, providing one single pane of glass over the cyber resilience monitoring. Another example will be CrowdStrike. So we have a dedicated Vim application for CrowdStrike. Vim integrates natively with CrowdStrike Falcon, if you're familiar with it, through this app, also log scale. Vim has, we call it a connector for CrowdStrike Next Generation CM. This integration stream backup and data protection telemetry to CrowdStrike. It will help you monitor the data protection health, detect anomalies, correlate Vim events with endpoint and identity threats, which of course will give you a faster investigation, a faster response time, and again, a cyber resilient recovery in case if it's needed. Another example will be Microsoft Sentinel. The same way, we have a Vim application dedicated for Microsoft Sentinel, which brings Vim backup and security intelligence directly into Microsoft Sentinel. So giving the SOC teams a full visibility into threats, targeting their backups infrastructure or their production. It ingests and also correlate Vim backups, ransomware, anomaly detection, or anomaly events with other signals that are being done by Sentinel. With this, I would say dashboard, the same way will give the security team or maybe IT administrators or backup administrators the possibility to have insights into what's happening regarding cyber defense and also into clean recovery. Another example I mentioned earlier regarding ServiceNow. Yeah, the same way, we have a dedicated application for ServiceNow that integrates with Vim, which of course will enable applications to manage and automate backup, recoveries, resilience processes that are needed in an organization. With ServiceNow, you can also have full alerts or full audits. Team can orchestrate data protection actions while meeting also security, compliance, regulation, because we already talked about regulations like Europeans, like DORA, GDPR, and so on. Going further on, Torque, it's also one of my I would say preferred tools regarding cyber integration. So again, Vim integrates also with Torque Hyper Automation. If you're familiar with it, it connects Vim data platform into this, they call it Torque's no-code AI-driven security automation workflows, if I remember well. So this will enable, again, organization to automate recovery, resilience. This will be part of the SecOp operations, as they call it. So using this deep AI integration with Vim Incident API, security teams can automatically trigger actions such as identifying recovery points, launching backups, retrieving content, initiating recovery orchestration in responses to EDRs, security systems, XDRs, alerts, and so on. This integration accelerates the shift from detection to recovery. Now, regarding Sophos, this is another tool highly on the cybersecurity landscape. Vim again integrates with Sophos MDR and Sophos XDR. It will eventually extend the advanced threat detection and response for your environment. It will protect actually the organization against ransomware attacks, different kind of malwares that usually attacks the backups. Yeah, because let's be honest, the backups themselves are really the last line of defense. We need to understand that if a threat passed all the security settings, security implementations, firewalls, SOC teams, and so on, the ransomware gangs are understanding, they understand that the backups will be the last line of defense. If the organization can recover from the backups, then the ransom actually will not be paid. So they are going towards the data protection system, in this case, Vim. As we can see, more than 90% of ransomware attacks will go first after the backup environment, after the data resiliency implementation, trying to delete them or maybe encrypt them, and then going after production. So also a very nice integration with Sophos MDR and XDR tools. Google Security Operation System. Yes.
I would ask you to go faster, if possible.
Yes. So Vim integrates also with Google the same way. If we have a dedicated help center, yeah, the documentation is under helpcenter.vim.com if you want to have more details regarding integration with Google. Integration with Pure Storage, yeah, so you can connect Pure Storage API the same way AI-driven analytics with Vim Security will give you data resilience. The same way, more details can be found on helpcenter.vim.com. I will go also and talk about immutability. Yeah, so as I said, data is very important, so the backups themselves should be immutable. Not even the main system administrator should be able to tamper with this data, not being able to manipulate it, encrypt it, of course, delete it, and so on. So we integrate with a lot of vendors to give you this kind of immutability. We have also a dedicated solution, yeah, built by Vim. This is called Vim Recon Scanner that provides proactive behavior-based threat detection for the backup infrastructure that also will help organization identify attacks before they impact the recovery. This creation is coming from a dedicated department. We have a department that is called Covware by Vim, and it will continuously analyze the activity in your data protection platform. And it will also correlate this activity to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. We talked about advanced anomaly detection. So this is already implemented in Vim, especially the flagship product, Vim Backup and Replication. As you can see, Vim truly uses AI and machine learning to detect unencrypted data that can be encrypted, which usually gives us a glimpse into a ransomware attack. Also, regarding Yara rules, we talked about Yara rules. You can have a dedicated Yara rule for specific malwares. Going a bit further, we can also protect Kubernetes, even if it's on premises or, as in this example, in Azure. Moreover, our dedicated solution for Kubernetes protection for Dockers, yeah, it's called Kasten, and also Kasten can integrate with Datadog Cloud CM. Going further, we can also speak about Veeam Cybersecure. This is a dedicated program. You don't see this in many companies. So Veeam can ensure the organization that they are secured and they will not be breached. So I can truly speak about a full solution. So by bringing this cybersecure program. Incident response teams, as I said, 24/7 are here to assist our customer that maybe suffer from a ransomware attack. And with our expertise and technology, we can guide our customers through impactful moments from assessment of the damage towards the negotiation and of course recovery. One more slide from my side. We are open. We love to be open. Yeah, so this openness and transparency we see that is beneficial for our customers. So any individual or organization, we're requesting to try to hack our system. We have dedicated programs. We work with CodeWhite, HackerOne, a zero-day initiative, Watchtower, open reporting systems too. We pay them to find vulnerabilities, and this is online. This is public. You can see if we have any kind of vulnerability. We are paying these developers that actually we had cases where they were able to breach our systems, so we paid them when they're finding any kind of bug or maybe remote code executions and so on. So we are open and transparent, and this is what our customers are loving also. So as an overview, we need to understand that data is the most important. Data is the bloodline of the organization. The data needs to be protected, and Veeam has an end-to-end solution for this. Thank you very, very much. Do we have any kind of questions?
Any quick question from the crowd? Otherwise, we can shift questions after the break. And I will maybe kind of shift my presentation with the coffee break. So we meet here again at 4 and maybe start a discussion with Vladimir, Marian.
I will respond only to Simona. I see a question in chat. Yes, we have an answer to detect data poisoning attacks. Yes. Thank you very much. After the break, we can get more questions.
See you back here at 4. So welcome back. Can from the teams hear us? Thumb up. Can you hear us from remote?
Yes, all good.
Okay. So I will tell you now about the results of our latest annual investigation, Deliverable 3.5, and some insights from an event I participated in Rome named Cyber Resilience for Small Medium Enterprise. So starting from our deliverable, we collected different kind of data, 15 reports from Clusit, McKinsey, ENISA, and IBM, statistics from Gartner and the Rewire project, and 17 forecasts, mainly from Forbes and Gartner. And as always, we collected the new data from 2025 and 2026 and tried to shorten this list, providing questionnaire to SMEs, particularly asking about 15 cybersecurity topics, similarly technologies and related application areas. Since this year we received fewer responses in the time frame, we decided to complement this analysis with 39 industry reports. And in the questionnaire, we also asked, thanks to Mohammad, one very important question, since we are pushing this idea of cross-domain skills. How would you value, in salary terms, a cybersecurity expert that also has AI skills or IoT skills? And we discovered that in the cybersecurity and AI, there was one organization willing to pay up to 12%, and cybersecurity and IoT, there were 2 organizations out of 5, of course, willing to pay between 8 and 12%. Taking all these data, so report, statistic, and forecast confirmation from industry, both locally via questionnaire and via the more general industry reports, we reached to a list of 13 topics, 11 technologies, and 7 related application areas. Of course, we also stress the importance of soft skill in the cybersecurity terms, particularly speaking to the leadership. What the results tell us, there is a shift from reactive defenses to continuous evaluation of cybersecurity. Then there is a need to develop a cyber risk culture from the employee up to the C-level suite. AI misuse and security, advanced security mechanisms that leverage machine learning are becoming more and more important. We have to be future-proof. Also in the past presentation, we heard about being quantum secured, quantum safe, let's say, and also protect the supply chain. Finally, there is a need for employees able to translate technical risk to business losses to highlight the importance of specific countermeasures. If you analyze them one by one, as I told you, you have to pass from reactive defenses, so reactive troubleshooting mainly, to continuous readiness and the ability to translate, to actually understand how much time your defenses can bring the system up again, the return to operation that you see on the slide. And from this perspective, there was a huge support by Zero Trust. And this kind of apical responsibility that was introduced by the NIS2 directive, where through training, you have to understand how to react and not only implement, for instance, the backup, but also test the backup regularly, possibly, and verify its effectiveness. One highlight here from the event that I mentioned earlier is that in Italy in particular, most organization does not have the resources to allow for a CISO. And because only large organization, and there are a few of them in Italy, have the money to invest in cybersecurity and to, as you see on the slide, spend 25 to 7K to be compliant and more secure. Although the cost of a cyber incident typically exceed 120K. So even if you are a small medium enterprise, it makes sense to invest that money. And also consider that small medium enterprise are considered a kind of gateway towards a bigger organization. So if there is a 1 weak link in your chain, still they can reach your data. From this perspective, what was mentioned is that in the future contracts, there will be a kind of a technical annex, probably, that will tell if I ask you to complete a job, you have to tell me how much time do I need in case of attack to be operational again. This brings us to the paradox that you see on the slide. We reached to a point where technology has not been never so advanced. We have advanced zero trust architecture, goal-driven autonomous AI system, and we are investing some organization already in post-quantum cryptography and be secure with post-quantum algorithms. But still, 85% of all security breaches depend on the user or on the human factor, being it voluntarily or by mistake. Solution to that was mentioned many times during today is training. For instance, we presented our zero trust approach at ITASEC 2024, also as part of the Merit project as best practices. Next week, we will discuss again our approach and what is the outcome during the GAR conference. And it's a gateway to be more secure, because if everybody understands cybersecurity, you move more faster in case of incident. Another important result here is that we moved from co-piloting to an engine, the so-called engine of conflict. It was mentioned MITOS. MITOS increased the number of common vulnerability that were discovered. And another great example is PocketOS, where basically this cloud-based model didn't add a credential, then found a permissive credential and decided that the best way to act was to delete the production database, because it was more efficient that way. This brings us to many of the concepts that was mentioned earlier. So there needs to be human control, human in the loop, the so-called AI trust, risk, and security management, and this oversight that put the human in the decision point. So it's the human that needs to define the why and enforce no. Of course, this is a citation from, I believe, Gemini. Architecting future resilience. We need to be ready for post-quantum apocalypse, defined by many, and secure the supply chain, how starting from SBOM. And as I mentioned, protect also legally with this kind of annex to contracts where you have to commit to be more secure. Finally, this need to translate technical risk to business losses, particularly needed in the workforce, because once the managerial level understand what could be the losses, of course, there are more resources to be more secure and resilient. With Merit, we are kind of crossing academia with industry to co-creating these next generation of cyber defenses. We decided to support IoT, AI, and cybersecurity And we also saw that in industry, this is valued from the salary perspective. And I would like to conclude with this needs to develop a sort of a common vocabulary that put together technical, legal, and managerial level, so that the next generation of specialists is ready to work out of the university. Thank you. Is there any question from online or the crowd?
Yeah, you have mentioned this transition to post-quantum cryptography, but it's a very big question when you start to invest in it, because the danger is in the future and in a very badly defined future. We do not know when quantum computers really will be dangerous, let's say, for public key cryptography. Yeah, we know that it can be dangerous. They can be dangerous in, okay, I do not believe in 2 years, in 3 years, but there is this NIST regulation about 2035, I think, or 2030, something like that. Yeah. And and if you ask me, yeah, when you should, and moving from one cryptography to another cryptography is expensive business. We are still having a lot ancient cryptography wild in the internet. So who can advise you? Of course, if it is regulation, if somebody is coming, European Commission says you should do that, that's easy. But it is on your own risk evaluation when you should start to invest in it. It's a very difficult question.
Yeah, it is indeed. And I believe it was Google that said it's not 35 or 2030 anymore, but it's 1 year earlier. There was this thing. And I believe there are already some solutions that could be adopted. Mainly, I'm thinking about TLS 1.3, but I'm no small medium enterprise. That's why I was also, it's a question for Marian and the other, and Tudor. From your perspective, when is the correct time to be post-quantum resilient?
Not sure if you can still hear me. Yeah, so I was mentioning quantum in my talk. And yes, you are correct. Google, as of April, have moved Q day. So the time when quantum becomes feasible and might pose a threat to the likes of encryption and whatnot, to 2029. Cloudflare have also confirmed that last month. So there's 3 major papers that have been published in the past 3 to 6 months that are showing that the advances in the field are accelerating far more than we've estimated initially. And with this being the case, it's better to start sooner rather than later. Let's just say that. So the sooner you start implementing algorithms that are quantum safe, and there's a whole bunch of them that are already published and readily available and standardized, as soon as you start implementing those and encrypting your data using those algorithms, you should be safer from the potential threats, right?
Okay, yeah. I would like to continue a little bit because it reminds me 2 previous technologies or maybe some shifts. One is 2000K. Yeah, we spent not trillions but billions for 2000K. Okay, I'm not saying that this money was wasted, but we bought new computers, some 5 years earlier when we needed. And in reality, the danger was much less. So if you are moving too early, you are not doing other things which can be much more important and much more profitable. So it does not come at no cost. Okay, to be safe is fine if it is free, but it is not never free. And second thing about this 2029 or 2030, this is you are drawing some prediction line on a very new and not very well understood technology. It's like if you are reading all articles about fusion, nuclear fusion. I think if you look at about last 50 years, you will find articles saying that nuclear fusion will have cheap energy in next 2 or 3 years, and this is the same now. Yeah, now we are saying that in 2 years we will have more or less free energy. So if quantum computer, you are making some prediction of progress, but you never know when it is the next threshold which you cannot pass using existing methods. So it's still very bad. And another point is, which is, I should say, like in fusion, since most of these papers are written by the companies dealing with fusion and quantum computers. So for them, you need to promise, otherwise you will not be funded. Okay, you should say that there is a danger when you will be funded. So it's, if I am not in this business, if I am not in the business of quantum computing, and if I need to invest now in the post-quantum security, okay, if it's regulation, that's fine. I should do what the government is saying. But if it is my business decision, oops.
Yep.
So I profoundly disagree with that view. The thing is, you've got the likes of, I know, Shor's algorithm, Grover's algorithm that have been around since the 90s. And those have been theoretically proven to be able to break current or modern encryption at a scale that's scary, to say the least, at least when it comes to large number factorization, right? Which will break existing traditional encryption, things like RSA, things like elliptic curve cryptography. And the only thing that they needed back then was the practical implementation of those algorithms in a way that's actually working. And for many, many years, they only had the theory, and they had computers, early 2000, they had computers with 1 or 2 qubits. For the past 10 years, though, there's been a lot of actual developments in the field, and there's a number of companies out there, Google, Microsoft, IonQ, and a bunch of others that have been steadily developing existing quantum computers that do the work. Well, yes, it's still at a scale that's not able to break existing algorithms efficiently. So you can do stuff with smaller numbers, like you can't really break stuff today that you could in theory as those systems become more stable, as the decoherent state is addressed better. But the scale at which these are evolving, and that there's already available technology out there today, does give you a clearer trend. And it's a prediction based on facts, based on existing implementations. Now, granted, it's not free, and you can decide to not do anything about it. But at the end of the day, I think it's a risk management discussion. So is this a risk you're willing to take on now and not do anything? And 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now, when it does become feasible, you are at a point where you haven't implemented the right tools and measures and algorithms internally, so your data gets compromised simply because 3 years ago or 5 years ago you chose to not do anything. And that's a discussion that anyone that's, I don't know, interested in any way to protect their data should be having today. And that was my point and my argument. You can choose to say, well, we'll take the risk. We'll just hope for the best. We'll hope we don't get hacked. We'll hope we don't have our data compromised, and we'll just focus on something else in life. And that's a valid choice to make. But the point is, these technologies are there, and they have been like theoretically validated. There's algorithms that have gone rigorous testing for the past 9 to 10 years. They've been standardized, they've been made public, and companies are free to choose to use or not use them. And that's the decision that you have to do at the end of the day.
Okay. If I may add just one thing, then I will give the word to Matteo. From the technological perspective, I believe that there are solutions now. They are quite inexpensive in most of the cases, unless, of course, you're dealing with SCADA, Modbus, and things like that. It's a matter of risk, as Tudor said. There is a risk analysis that you have to do. It's more important to protect towards the AI agents continuously doing reconnaissance in your network, or to be future-proof for a problem in the next 5 years that potentially could disrupt everything. So it's a matter of understanding.
I think you summarized. When I show you the email from Bill Gates to Microsoft in 2002, the first product that Microsoft built was Microsoft Vista. You remember Microsoft Vista operative system? How many months did you use it? Don't you remember? 6 months? 1 year? No more. Because the problem was that the product was so secure that was not usable. So here comes the balance, no? Once again, new technologies, you have not request to adopt 100% of the new technologies. You have a request to perform an analysis of who are you, what are you doing with your data, what are the risks of the compromising of your data, what are your attackers, your competitors that can have something interesting in your data. So you have to perform an analysis and then understand if invest or not, because maybe you cannot invest. Maybe it's a solution. So I think the first is monitoring the situation and perform an analysis of what you are doing and what your data level of security is requiring.
Thanks. To go on with discussion, are there questions for our speakers? Otherwise, I noted. Anything from the crowd? Otherwise, I go further. So, first question for Matteo. Maybe.
Okay.
Was how much time do you think it's needed to develop the technical expertise? And do we have enough time considering the NIS 2 requirements and new directives and new requirements coming up?
So how much time to develop the new
the technical expertise to be secure and using a mindful way AI machine learning models?
1 billion questions.
From a more medium enterprise perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to not use the time as a
metric.
Yeah, because a lot of people also in the last month are saying in 1 year we will have the AG, the new intelligence develop. Every time is failing. So again, invest in what you can do today to improve the awareness inside your company regarding AI. It's a key, absolutely. Today you have to do that, and then let's see. We are in the middle of the revolution, so no magic wand, no magic words. Every single company has to adapt and to interact with this new technology, but no rush, and not we have to monitoring it and manage it.
Okay. Yeah, because first question I would have said, how much money do we need to be compliant? But I won't ask that question because it's the most asked. And for Marian, going back to his presentation, was a way to be cloud independent for the solution he present. I don't know if Marian is here.
I'm here.
Yeah. So if I recall well, your solution was kind of linked with Google, although there was a note over the use of personal identifiable data by Google itself. We personally in the cybersecurity group developed many tools, one of which addressed this problem of honest but curious service provider. So there was encryption applied and cryptographic keys. The solution you presented can be cloud independent, no, cloud vendor independent, or fully on-premise. What do you think?
I think that the architecture is universal. That was the point. For concreteness, I illustrated the entire guide series with Google Cloud Technologies, and not only because we're Google Cloud partners, I mean the company of the software, but also because it gives people something concrete to look at. So when you're talking about a recommendation engine, you may use Amazon Personalize, you may use, I don't know, for example, Google Retail, which is newly rebranded to Vertex AI Search for Commerce. And it's better to give one name and keep it around. But the architecture is universal. My point is now to reply to your question. So first of all, for security reasons, you need to have 3 perimeters, not 2. So don't think of it as your data zone and the AI zone. Think of it as your data zone, your translation layer, and then the AI zone. You can keep all 3 on-prem, but then you should have an open source model or a model that can run on-prem for the AI zone. The middleware, of course, it's better to run on-prem. You can run it on cloud as well. And also the data zone, your internal data zone. But my real point to the security issue is that I recommend you having 3 security parameters, not 2. And of course, not a single one. So the better way you filter and sanitize and control the data transfer between these 3 zones, the higher security you achieve, at least concerning data. Now there is also something else about what AI functions we use. Now, as I said, you can use it on-prem if you're doing a recommendation engine. Once again, the use case, the simple use case, that runs without problems on prem. If you want to do coding, I don't know, it's quite more challenging now because the best models, the best foundation models are in cloud, of course. But I think that in the future, there will be a trend towards on-prem solutions for that. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to say about the Q-Day thing, just a thing that I think, as you said, and everybody maybe will agree, but we want to put it this clearly, the trend will be toward the multi-layered security picture. So things like crypto agility, being able to swap algorithms, also data controls, which I was saying with the perimeters. So the thing is that uncertainty will be at a high. So post-quantum cryptography, and quantum algorithms to break classic cryptography and so on will evolve together for the next 10, 20 years as resources are poured in. Right now, I think they only have, the best computer has about 1,000 to 2,000 qubits. Now they think they need a million qubits to break RSA. But one thing will go higher, one thing will go lower, you know? So the number of physical qubits to implement the, I don't know, 5,000 theoretical qubits will go down from 1 million. Also, the computers will have more than 1,000 qubits as of now, and so on. Yeah, I think it's 1 million now. I don't know, maybe 1,000. Yeah, okay, 100 pounds, and so on.
It was on 1 million until February of this year. When they cut that down even further to around 100,000.
Yeah.
With a new architecture design. Yeah.
Yeah. So there will be a lot of engineering on both sides, both in having more, and of course, they may invent another quality algorithm. So it's active research there. So maybe the standards published by NSA will be broken because, of course, I'll try stop talking about this. So, but I think that the best way for at least for large organizations, and I think also global policy will reflect this, is having as many layers of protection as possible. And as you said, classify your data by importance.
Yep. Yeah, also in Verona, there was many times mentioned the event that I told you about earlier, this need for a layered security. So you have MFA upfront, conditional access control, different metrics to detect the risks of login, of every action, possibly attribute-based access control, just-in-time access. There are plentiful of solutions that block by block give you more guarantees. I believe, Vladimir, there was a question from Simona. Probably it's worth replying because it's a really... Okay.
Yes, I already answered, so yes.
Okay. And from my perspective, the platform you presented, Vladimir, highlighted a really high complexity and number of connectors. How can a solution like that guarantees that is, I would say, in short, bug proof, but does not introduce some supply chain attack because there is additional connectors that you include?
Good question, but of course, bug proof, there is no such thing, and there is no infrastructure 100% proof. So again, we are trying to reduce the attack surface area. So it doesn't matter, those connectors that I showed, those are dedicated applications that when you deploy them, they're being part of the original, I would say, security vendor. I showed a couple of examples. So again, to your question, this is not a bug-free or bug-proof solution. We are finding on a daily basis, especially now with the AI, especially now with Mythos, because I know that around 20 to 30 companies already have access to Mythos. We are finding bugs, we are finding security glitches, we are finding remote code execution exploits done in an automated manner by AI. So I'm not saying that we are bug proof. I'm not saying that we have no bugs. As I also mentioned in my presentation, we are paying people and organizations to find bugs, to find ways to hack and penetrate our solutions. We are paying them. Bugs were found. Solutions were updated, patched. Yeah, so nothing is 100% secured. But again, we have, and you won't find it widely in the industry, a cyber secure program where we can also insure a customer up to $5 million if they're being breached or they're losing production data. But again, this insurance doesn't go straightforward. So the customer needs to implement the best practice regarding security, data resilience. We are constantly in touch with the customer. We have a health security check every 3 months and a lot of criteria. But if they apply this best practices guides from VIM, they can be insured. And of course, we are already doing this.
Yeah, and if I may add, try not to drown in false positives, because all people is using AI to find niche problems that are not actually problems.
I can tell you more than this. As I said in my presentation, we acquired a company which is called Security AI, which is based for data security posture management. So you can connect this, we call it AI Commander. So you can connect this tool to different data streams, even if they're on premises, unstructured data, data coming from virtualization platforms or from the cloud. You can connect all these data streams, and this AI Commander can classify, can verify the access, can verify the output of AI agents that now organizations have already implemented, most of them. And moreover, this AI Commander agent can also undo AI actions. So you gave an example where an AI agent deleted the production data. Our tool can reverse this kind of malicious actions. We need to understand that up until now, up until the present, an attack or maybe even an organization compromise can be realized in 1 second. Yeah, one employee can just click a wrong, maybe a malicious link coming from, most probably from a phishing email. Now this action right now can be taken by an AI agent. Yeah, so you can poison it, you can give it malicious prompting, you can deliver links, and the AI agent from the organization can just go ahead and access this link, and the organization might be compromised by different attack vectors, malwares, ransomwares, and so on. So we are how we call ourselves an early adopter. And this, I think this power that we need to develop, adapt to current challenges, this is what we are, and this is what we do.
Perfect. Thank you, Vladimir. Any more questions? Otherwise, I'll try to wrap up this session. So we saw that there is a very complicated situation outside. There are current threats, mostly fueled by new technologies, and there is future threats which may or may not in the current future disrupt our systems. Fortunately, we have some guidelines, some tools that we can adopt to be more secure, more compliant, to develop more trustworthy products, and to protect from external threats. And more generally, as I mentioned also earlier, there is a strong push towards training at all levels within organization in order to avoid that there can be mistakes made by a human or AI agent that access the system as human. So you have to put guardrails, you have to separate your network, your systems. We have the solution for all those problems. We just have to enforce them sooner due to new advancement in technologies. So let's thank our speakers. And for those of you here in presence, we will have a tour of Trento at 6 in Piazza Fiera. That is going that way in the main square.
Sorry for not being there.
You're missing a very nice dinner. There will be occasion, I hope. Bye-bye to those from remote.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.